Is Daggerheart's online character creator any good? Today, we're going to find out just that as we head over to Demiplane and see if it lives up to D&D Beyond and the online expectation of a character creator we have come to know and love. So, let's hop over to Demiplane and create our level 1 character for Daggerheart. Alright, here we are. This is the character builder over at Daggerheart Nexus on Demiplane. We have a nice little welcome to Daggerheart, and then what kind of role-playing game is Daggerheart? Explanation right here. We are able to select a set of predetermined portraits or upload our own. We can also include a campaign frame, pronouns, level, name, and we also have access to some pre-generated characters. These are the pre-generated characters that are available in the Quick Start Adventure. If you've ever played it, these will be incredibly familiar to you. So let's create our own character. We're going to use a character I have used many times, and that is going to be Dirk. His pronouns are going to be he, him, and we are going to create him at level 1. Let us pick a portrait for Dirk, and we're going to go right here. Right here. Perfect. That looks very Dirk-like. All right, let's click begin, and we're off to the race. So let's take a look around. So the first step of character creation is to choose your class you want to play. Each class is a role-based archetype that determines what abilities you have access to throughout the campaign. For example, you might want to play a guardian if you want to be the tank of the group who runs into the fights headfirst and protects others with their own life. You might choose to be a wizard if you want to cast unique spells to solve problems, heal party members, and wield cunning battle magic. Once you have chosen a class, you may also choose a subclass. The subclass are subsets of each class that further define the character's archetype. Perfect. So I think we're going to maybe go Guardian for this character. We've kind of looked around. I think we've done, you know what? We're going to change it up. We're going to go, I think, Warrior for Dirk this time. So we're going to get our 2 domains, Blade and Bone. We're also going to get our Hope feature right here. We can spend 3 hope to gain +1 bonus to our attack rolls until the next rest. And then we have our class features. We also have background, questions, and connections for the warrior. So I think we are going to go warrior. So we will select this. We're going to select this class. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. Is very simple, easy to use, and kind of leads one into the next. I feel like I should just click on the top thing here and select whatever it is asking me to select. So we have Call of the Brave and Call of the Slayer. So Call of the Brave Foundation, when you fail a roll with fear, you gain a hope. Once per long rest, before you attempt something incredibly dangerous or face off against a foe who clearly outmatches you, describe what ritual you perform or preparations you make. When you do, clear 2 stress, gain 2 hope. That's pretty darn good. Then we have Call of the Slayer. You gain a pool of dice called Slayer dice. On a roll with hope, you can place a d6 on this card instead of gaining a hope, adding that dice to the pool. You can store a number of Slayer dice equal to your proficiency. When you make an attack or damage roll, you can spend any number of these Slayer dice, rolling them and adding the result to the roll. At the end of each session, clear any unspent Slayer dice on this card and gain a hope per die cleared. Both of them very cool, but I like Call of the Brave. It's very thematic. I just imagine that preparation before a big combat of cleaning your weapon, meditating. I think that is very cool. So we're going to go Call of the Brave. So we've made that selection. We can see it right over here. Next, we're going to set up our traits. So, there's right here. I love that. I can just use the suggested traits, which I think I'm going to do. That selects things for me right here. Agility, strength, instinct, presence, knowledge, finesse. Throws them all right in there. And now we're going to choose our starting weapons. We get a nice list of starting weapons. Now, yep, same thing. Look at that. We get another suggested primary weapon. No, secondary weapon. It only recommended a primary, which is cool. Suggested longsword. So I imagine probably some kind of shield. I know works as secondaries. Did that. Small dagger, whip, short sword, round shield. think that's what we're going to go with. We got a longsword and a shield. I'm liking that. All right, now we have to select our armor. Whoop, right here. Again, suggested chain mail armor. It's going to give us a base threshold of 715, base score of 4. It is going to be -1 to our evasion, and this is going to be tier 1 armor. We're going with suggested. Plate, I think, is going to get a -2 to our agility, and we have an agility based weapon, so I don't know if that's going to be the best choice. So let's move on to our starting. I think we're going to go, we get a minor health potion or a minor stamina potion. I'm going to do the health potion, and I get either a drawing of a lever or a sharpening stone, and I'm liking sharpening stone because of that subclass that we did decide to go with. That it can be part of our preparation, and I think that's very cool. And now we move on to the domain cards. So we're going to have Blade and Bone as the 2 domains that we're going to select from. There are going to be 6 total cards at level 1, and we are going to have to pick 2 of them to be our initial abilities at level 1. All right, let's take a look at what we have offered to us. Deft maneuvers. Once per rest, mark a stress to sprint anywhere within far range without making an agility roll to get there. If you end this movement within melee range of an adversary and you immediately make an attack against them, gaining a +1 to that attack roll. Very cool. Get back up. When you take severe damage, you can mark a stress to reduce the severity by 1 threshold. So that's going to be in addition to our armor slots, which we get. That's very cool, kind of a tanking ability, reducing the amount of HP we are marking from attacks. All right, next up, I see it coming. When you're targeted by an attack made from beyond melee range, you can mark a stress to roll a d4 and gain a bonus to your evasion equal to the result against the attack. Cool. Not really feeling it though. Not good enough. When you roll your damage dice, you can reroll any 1s or 2s. We're going with that. I think that one is very cool. Untouchable. Gain a bonus to your evasions equal to half your agility. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think we have a +2 to agility, so we gain a +1 to our evasion. Very cool. And then Whirlwind. This is I played with this ability in the Quick Start Adventure. I love this ability. We are going to select this, but I will read it first. Whirlwind. When you make a successful attack against a target within very close range, you can spend a hope and use the attack against all other targets within very close range. All additional adversaries you succeed against with this ability take half damage. Nice little AoE for a martial class. Absolutely love it. We have our 2 selections. We went with Whirlwind and not good enough. So we are re-rolling our 1s and 2s, and we have an ability that we can spend a hope on and attack all adversaries within very close range. Very awesome. All right, so moving on, that is completed. Our class is completed. Let's look at our heritage, which is going to be a combination of our ancestry and our community. Now, for this one, we have all of the different ancestries available to us in the core rulebook. So I'm going to go, let's read off a couple here. We're going to read off Galapa. Galapa resembles anthropomorphic turtles with large dome shells in which they can retract. We gain a bonus to our damage thresholds equal to our proficiency, and then we can mark a stress to retract into our shell. While in the shell, we have resistance to physical damage. You have disadvantage on action rolls, and you can't move. Cool. We also have Giant. Giants gain an additional hit point slot at character creation and trait any weapon, ability, spell, or other feature that has a melee range as though it had very close range instead. Our big AoE already has very close range, so I don't know if Giant is going to be the way we go. But what I'm really feeling here is Clank. Clanks are sentient mechanical beings built from a variety of materials, including metal, wood, and stone. These have some very cool art in the core rulebook of some versions that are made out of wood, and I just think they're super cool. Purposeful design. Decide who made you and for what purpose. At character creation, choose one of your experiences that best aligns for this purpose and gain a permanent +1 bonus to it. I love experiences, and getting a +1 to it is super helpful. And then efficient. When you take a short rest, you can choose a long rest move instead of a short rest move. Super cool. For this Dirk, we are going to create a Clank Dirk. And then for our community, I think there are a lot of cool, let's read off a couple here. We're going to start with Slyborn. With Slyborn, you're going to have advantage on rolls to negotiate with criminals, detect lies, and find a safe place to hide. Orderborn, record 3 sayings or values your upbringing instilled in you once per rest, when you describe how you're embodying one of those principles through your current action, you can roll a d20 as your hope die. You know what? I think this is going to be very cool. I am sensing this is a Clank that was created for combat and is now kind of going out on his own, but he is instilled with certain programming that makes him do certain things. It makes him prepare for combat in a very specific and methodical way, and his programming leads him to do certain things that allow him to call on those basic instincts as a Clank to roll that d20 as a hope die. I think that is very cool. Oh, we can record our 3 sayings or values right here. That is very awesome. I was not prepared to do that, but let's do it together. All right, so I created my 3 sayings or values that my upbringing instilled in me. My weapon is an extension of me. Honor above all else, and the powerful have a duty to protect the weak. All of them were very cool. I was thinking very Mandalorian vibes when trying to come up with these, but it is very cool that you can add them to your character sheet right when you choose the community. I think that's a really cool little feature in this character creator. So we have our heritage. We are going to be a Clank Orderborn. So next up we have our experiences. In here we can add our description. We're going to answer our background questions. We are going to choose our experiences, and then we are going to create our connections, which you would normally do with the other players that you're playing Daggerheart with. All right, so we created them. So we're going to look at choose your description, clothes that are bark of a tree. I like the idea of different bark plates kind of strung together that are kind of an overcoat. Eyes like emeralds, green forest, just that kind of vibe. Body that's carved cedar, that's the color of warm mahogany. Attitude like contemplative sentient robot, always observing the world around me. Nice little description. All right, moving on, we're going to look at our background questions. Who taught you to fight, and why did they stay behind when you left home? I don't know. I have never known my maker. Someone defeated you in battle years ago and left you to die. Who was it, and how did they betray you? It was a group of my kin. They did not like that I was questioning my programming. What legendary place have you always wanted to visit, and why is it so special? I've always wanted to visit the quarry that Clank's power crystals are harvested. And then for my experiences, I got to +1 one of my experiences. So I did this first one. My weapon is my religion. Again, very Mandalorian. And then for an experience, we went with protect the weak again. Every single section here has really great text that guides the person who is creating the character in what they need to do in any given section. It's not just do this, pick this, do this. There is great flavor text and there's great explanations on examples that you should be kind of looking at before, picking your experiences, which I think is fantastic. We're not going to do our connections here. That is something you should do at the table with other players. And I believe that's it. So let's take a look at our character sheet. We've made it through our character creation, and we have Dirk, the Orderborn Clank Warrior, Call of the Brave. We have our ability scores here, our evasion, we don't have our armor, but I think we have to equip it. All right, so let's select what we're going to have on ourselves. So all that is worn. We're going to see that our base 17 15s are up 1 due to our level 1. You get 1 per every level. We have our longsword here doing the damage. We have our experiences. Fantastic. Perfect. It's very cool. All right, let's see. Say we want to. Yep, we have. Let's export to PDF. Let's see what that looks like. And there we have it. Our Daggerheart character sheet. We have everything equipped. We have our hope. We have our experiences. Thresholds are all here. Class feature, they're trying to cram everything else into class feature, which is going to be the different abilities that we get from our domain cards, but not too bad. I like it. We can see in details. This is going to be all of our specific character questions that we answered, and then we have our journal, which we can add new entries into. That's very cool. So this was a quick venture through the Daggerheart character creator available on Demiplane. Overall, initial thoughts that this was a very seamless experience. I did not get stuck. I didn't have to Google anything. It created a perfectly usable level 1 Daggerheart character for me, and I can export this to PDF. I can use it with my cards. I can mess around with things, change equipment, etc. And it all seems very easy and intuitive. And let's see if we roll with hope or fear for this first character. We roll with fear, a 4 with fear. That is not great for our first roll ever on Demiplane, but it is what it is. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe for more great Daggerheart content, and we will see you next time.